Hello and welcome to another episode of Be Inspired with Mike and Tina. You are in for a real treat on tonight because we have two powerful women who are really making their way in the professional field. And we have today with us Dr. Theresa Cruthird and also Cristal Brisco, the attorney for City of South Bend. So we are just really going to have a great time with them tonight, sharing with us some helpful tips and techniques on how to really make your way and navigate your way through the professional arena. So thank you for joining us and come on in. Welcome and thank you for joining us for another episode of Be Inspired with Mike and Tina. We are in for a real treat on tonight, and I'm telling you that I was already inspired when these two young women agreed to be on the show tonight. So we have with us Dr. Theresa Cruthird and also Cristal Brisco, the attorney for the City of South Bend. Welcome, and thank you so much for agreeing to be with us here tonight. Thank you so much.
We're excited too.
So before we get started, can you tell our viewers just a little bit about yourselves? And Dr. Cruthird, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, I'm an anesthesiologist here in South Bend at St. Joseph Regional Medical Center. I've been here for about a year, enjoying your lovely city.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. I'm originally from Virginia, born and raised on the East Coast, transplanted here for work. I came and toured the city, like the hospital, like the people, like the town.
Sure.
I have a little boy, so it seemed like a very good place for raising a family. And had a lot of benefits being close to Chicago,
Yes.
so I thought I would come and give it a shot.
Wonderful. So we're going to come back to that,
Okay.
you being here in South Bend. And so, yes, we'll come back to it. So, Cristal, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. Well, I'm Cristal Brisco, and I'm the Corporation Counsel for the City of South Bend. And in that role, I serve as the Chief Legal Counsel for the Executive Branch and oversee the legal affairs for the city and a staff of 11. I am a wife to Brian, my high school sweetheart, and we have two little girls, ages 3 and 7, that keep us busy and are the joys of our life. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you again for coming. And just enjoy yourself this afternoon. And we're really going to be talking about really being professionals in the City of South Bend and how that all works and how you maneuver yourselves and how you've come to be connected to South Bend. And we'll talk about that. So, Mike, let's get right in.
So as young professionals, we'd like to know, and our viewers certainly would like to know, some of your childhood dreams. We're talking about becoming a successful professional in your careers, but prior to getting to the place where you are now, certainly you had to have some aspirations or dreams prior to coming into the career that you have now. So, Dr. Cruthird, would you share with us your childhood dreams?
Well, mine's pretty simple. I've always wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
Okay, from the time that I was 6 years old, I think, my mom was sort of in and out of the hospital at that age.
Okay.
And I, saw the benefits of going to the hospital. She'd be sick, she'd go to the hospital, she'd come back, she'd be better. And I thought, wow, what a great place. And so I really wanted to be a healer, sort of in a healing profession from the time I was about 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm now living my childhood dream.
Yes.
But again, I will say to you and your viewers that it was not a straight road. It was not sort of easy street getting there.
Yeah.
And I think it's important just for anyone with a dream to not necessarily give up if it doesn't happen the way you think it should happen or in the time that you think it should happen in.
Very
Thank
important.
you. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Attorney Brisco?
education was always just so important in my family, and I was always at the library with my dad, and I just immersed myself in reading. At the same time, I was a chatty Cathy in school, and so you would see A and all of the academics, but then for conduct, it's like, you know, a check mark for talking. And so one of my teachers said, you should be an attorney because you know so much and you talk a lot. And I didn't know what an attorney was. There are no lawyers in my family. I'm born and raised in Gary, Indiana, and there's just not a lot of attorneys that I came in contact with. And so I talked to my mom and dad, and I said, Sister Roseanne said I need to be an attorney. What do they do? And so my dad connected me with the only attorney that he knew. And I was just really inspired at how he turned his love for learning and advocacy and used that to help the community.
Wow.
And so I always saw being an attorney as a way to help the community, and that's what I wanted to do.
Wow, and how did you stay focused on that? A lot of children or young people that we meet, they may have a dream or a goal, say in the middle school age, and then by the time high school has come, they've changed 4 or 5 times. How did you stay focused on wanting to be a doctor, or how did you stay focused on wanting to be an attorney?
I think it's really important to communicate your dreams and share your dreams with people who care about, who have your best interests at heart, because then they help you be accountable and they help expose you to different opportunities. And so I just always remember having people, just whether it's my church community, my neighborhood, if they saw an article on one of the female Supreme Court justices, they would share that with me.
Oh, wow.
They were just feeding into my dream. And so that level of encouragement is how it helped me get through any tough times, because I knew that there were people cheering for me and supporting that.
That's a wonderful lesson to parents, I believe, just really to keep your children focused. Put them in the places where, whatever the career they have, that they can be around people that are doing that same thing.
I would totally agree with that point. I think from the time that I said I wanted to be a doctor, it was validated. My mother said, okay, well, she's going to be a doctor. And I think a lot of times when people share their dreams at a young age and there are people around them that there's no one in the family that's been that, or they don't understand it, they say, oh, you can't do that. None of us have ever done that. Or do you know how hard it's going to be a whatever? And that can talk a kid out of it, and the kid says, well, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to be that, and I think as parents, right, because the kids have no control over who inputs into their life, as a parent, validating your child's dreams and sort of setting them up if it's going to the library with them, or saying, you can do anything, and sort of giving them that encouragement. My mother taught me that I could be or do anything. So if you have that belief, even if you don't get what you think you should have, you still keep pushing forward for something. So I totally agree with your point on that.
And if I can piggyback on that,
Certainly.
I have a distinct memory in my life to where being in college, and I took a class and we had to do a paper research on the profession that we wanted to be on. And it was was race economics, and I can't remember what but that was the class that it was in. And so naturally I had to read things about the fact that there just aren't a lot of women excelling in this male-dominated profession, let alone a lot of African Americans. And so that was really the first time doing that research that I knew that it would be difficult for me. And having the professor say to me, do you still want to do that? And it's like, of course.
Yes.
Because I can do that. So that foundation that was put into me by my family, my community, my pastors, it's like,
it's important.
of course we can do this.
Yes.
No matter what those statistics say.
Yes.
And I love that you didn't know the statistics when she had no idea that you weren't supposed to be able to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's powerful there in itself.
All by itself, So it's important for parents to validate their children in regards to their dreams, in regards to their aspirations, and then to introduce them to their dream, to the aspiration that they have as well, in whatever way that they can do that. And then as well, I think I picked up from you also that the parent needs to help the child remain focused, because many times what we've found is maybe your parents do validate that dream, however outsiders have a different view. And sometimes we find that even in our school system. I know dealing with our own children, as our son aspires to be a brain surgeon, we've had a teacher tell him that a brain surgeon would probably not be what he could become. And so making sure that you're listening to your child, making sure that you're staying on top of the dream, and encouraging and motivating that child as well to reach for the dream that they have is important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, we talked a little bit about some of the struggles, and we're going to come back to that as soon as we get back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. We're so excited to have Attorney Cristal Brisco with us and Dr. Theresa Cruthird as well with us. We're just talking about validation, validation of dreams for our, in fact, validation for dreams for our young people, but as well you shared that your parents validated your dreams and your aspirations. And I want to go back to that thought to give you an opportunity to kind of speak to that as well even further.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned earlier during the break that a lot of times kids are exposed to people in their lives that don't necessarily support their vision and may even oppose it in a sense and sort of instill sort of a discouragement from pursuing what they want to do. And I think it's important for us as parents and as a community to sort of support those kids and instill in them the truth that they can be whatever they want to be. And that somehow has to be internalized into a confidence that holds up even when other people who may be authority figures, teachers, perhaps well-meaning people, who think, okay, maybe you can't be that because I don't see that in you. Right. But if a child has that vision of himself, then it doesn't matter who doesn't see it, as long as that child holds that vision through high school, through college, and can sort of internalize that and not look for external forces to support.
And we can become our children's cheerleaders. We become the cheerleaders for our children to make sure that they get to where it is that they need to be based on what their dreams and their goals and their aspirations are.
That's right. That's right. So thank you so much for sharing in regards to that thought. As we talk about careers, why the career of an attorney? Why the career of a doctor? What led you there? Answer the why for me.
You know, for me, I feel that, I know that God gives us all purpose, gives us skills and talent. And I just thrived in all of those areas that they say attorneys should be strong in, right? So you should be able to research, all right. You should be able to advocate a position. And so I just felt like I followed where my passions led me. And ultimately, like I said, I knew that I wanted to serve the community, to make change. And a key way to make change is through the laws that govern a civil society.
That's right.
And so that's the why for me.
Okay, thank you so much.
I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, my mother had some health problems growing up, and I just saw being a physician as sort of the epitome of a helper, right? So, as you know, when someone's ill, when their health is affected, every area of their life is affected, right? So when you're helping people get better, you're helping them pursue every aspect of their life that's important to them. And I just saw that as sort of a wonderful thing. As a 6-year-old, I thought, wow, you know, you go in, you're sick, you can barely move, you can't get out of bed, and you go into this place, and you come out, and you can live your life. And so from a simplistic perspective, that's where I started. And I sort of always held on to that. And I still have a passion for seeing people get better. And I don't know if that's you know, God has put that in me. I know He has walked this out
Yes.
for me.
Right.
So a lot of times I think if a child or whoever has an aspiration, that it doesn't have to be sort of divinely imparted, right? It just has to be a vision that you've chosen and that you're willing to take steps to achieve,
Sure.
you know, and God will open doors if that's the right thing for
Right.
you.
Right.
If it's not, He will redirect you.
Sure.
So I hear both of them saying, you
Yeah.
know, they were both inspired to follow their passion.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think that's one thing we need to instill in people, no matter what kind of career profession that you
Yeah.
have, make sure it's your passion.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's talk about, they're both not
Yeah.
from South Bend. They
Sure.
both came from other places.
Yeah.
How have you transitioned to South Bend? Dr. Cruthird, you've been here for a year.
I've been here for you.
And Attorney
Yeah.
Cristal, you've been
About-
here
about
for
6 years
about
in
6
the
years.
area. You're
So
right.
how have you
Yeah.
found, you know, transitioning from where you were to South Bend, particularly for young professionals? How have you been able to kind of integrate yourself into what was going on here?
Right. Well, you know, I always say, quite frankly, I came to South Bend kicking and screaming. I did.
No.
You know, I earned my law degree from Notre Dame Law School. And so my only idea of South Bend was that it was just this off campus. I didn't know what that meant because I was always in the library. And then I took a job in Indianapolis with a national law firm with 13 offices. And so the Indy office was the main office. So that's where all the excitement's going on. And then my husband, who, like I said, I've been with him since we were in high school, his employer transferred him to South Bend. And I'm like, there's no shopping in South Bend. South Bend. You know,
How are you gonna
very
survive?
shallow, I know. And I just said, well, this is all the juice is happening in the practice in the capital city. My practice is thriving in the capital city and making connections. There's a lot of young professional networks. But, you know, but the firm had an office in South Bend. But there was no diversity in the South Bend office. And so there was a fear there for me of how can I strive in South Bend when I'm going to be the only African American in this office. And several said I would be the first. And I had been the first and only a lot. And I just know what that meant.
Yeah.
Sure.
That there's just, you know, you're going to have to, I just knew that was going to be a little challenging.
Sure.
But to my surprise, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but to my surprise, I was welcomed with open arms and made the best out of what I thought was going to be a bad situation. And I have learned throughout my career that your mentors and your sponsors, those who support you, do not necessarily have to look like you.
That's right.
You know, a good person is going to be a champion for you.
That's right.
If you have integrity and perform.
Excellent.
And so South Bend now, I mean, I say I came kicking and screaming, but now I am here and I'm happy.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Great.
Dr. Theresa, how did you transition? You're still kind of new.
I'm still kind of new, yes. I had a different perspective on the shopping. I was very excited to see all the stores that I love. And I thought, oh, I can live in this town. It's similar to where I grew up, sort of. The people here are very nice. The shopping is good. Okay, cost of living is low. I found a church when I was scouting out the area, and they have really been sort of my extended family.
Okay.
And I was very blessed to find them. I have people there who have instantly integrated into my life.
Okay.
They help with my son, they come over, they take care of my house when I'm not there. So I have a very strong family network with them.
Okay.
And I think without that, my situation would be a little different. I think it's a little more isolating here. I don't think there are a lot of social networks that are publicized very well. So fortunately I found them, but outside of that, I wouldn't know how to meet other young professionals in this area.
That's kind of what we were going to ask. I mean, what is it that South Bend can do not only for you, but for other young professionals who are really trying to plant themselves here in this community from somewhere else, or they were raised, homegrown here.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I became involved quickly in the Chamber of Commerce and their Young Professional Network and their events. And so I know that if you're a member of that organization, you get the information.
Right.
But when you think about that, though, very few people can automatically join the chamber unless your company, your employer, is a part of that organization. And so I do think that we need more opportunities for individuals, young professionals particularly, who may not be associated with the chamber, to be able to network and convene with one another.
Sure. Yeah, that's important to have the connections. I believe the connections help to stabilize you in the community as you're making the transition into the community, into your new job, and into whatever other kind of opportunities that you find yourself in the community where you live. And so that is so important. Thank you for bringing out that the Chamber has helped you. Are there some connections, Dr. Theresa, that you may make mention of?
Well, actually, through one of the physicians that I worked with, he's a member of the 100 Black Men of South Bend.
Wonderful.
And that has been amazing for my son, who's 14. There's not a ton of diversity in the Penn school system, which is where he was before I started homeschooling him. And I thought it was important at his age to see young African American professionals sort of who look like him, who were successful and thriving and pursued higher education. So that was sort of a godsend. They have been amazing. They mentored him. He's actually been on a television program discussing an African American history book college level text that they've been working with the kids on. He's gone on trips with them. And they're great people. He has stated an interest in engineering. They've connected him with an engineering mentor who's taken him to his plant, to AM General. He was vice president there, took him on a tour of the plant. And again, that sort of feeding his vision of what he wants to be and saying, okay, this is possible, and makes it sort of more tangible for him. So that organization for young males has been phenomenal.
Excellent. We've got to go to break, and we appreciate you sharing. But we're going to come back with that thought as we go to break.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
a great church.
And I kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well, look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We've been talking with Dr. Theresa Cruthird and attorney Cristal Brisco, two young professionals that are really making an impact in this community. So why don't we start talking about, we talked about a little bit their support systems. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. I think for me, my main support system is my husband, Brian. He encourages me and just supports me in having a thriving career and balancing being, the type of mother that I want to be, engaged and great examples for my girls. My family, even though they're not in town, I speak with my mother and father every morning on my drive to work. Just church community, girlfriends, the Links organization, and I couldn't do my job if I did not have great babysitters that help me. So that's my support system.
Wonderful.
Well, my family, I've always had church family now that I look back. If I think about the earliest, when I first started this journey again, I was married, divorced, and after I separated from my husband, my son was about 5 years old when that happened. That's when I decided I'm going to medical school. So it wasn't sort of the traditional medical student candidate, a single mom with a 4-year-old. So my support system at that point was I had tons of church family. And then when I went to med school, my mother was there, my father was there, my sisters were there. Moving here, I found another church family. I feel like the common thread is that wherever I've been, God has provided
wonderful
support for me. Yeah. And I think in any journey like mine, where you sort of have, you're a single mom, you don't have a husband, you don't have, I would love a babysitter. A babysitter, yes. It's still doable because God provides.
Yes.
I mean, I've had people that I've known for a month who have become like instant family. Yes. And if I need something, they're there. And that's been consistent in every town that I've moved to, including this one.
And I would have to say, probably being a professional as well, you have to learn how to balance things.
Yeah.
Because we all have homes, households, children, your careers, your outside activities, community activities. You just got to learn to really balance those things and really put things in perspective as well.
Yes.
I think, too, there's a lot of sacrifice involved. Being a mom, my son still comes first. So even this career move, this wasn't my first choice coming to South Bend. I thought, okay, well, I'd rather be in the big city, you know, somewhere fun and exciting. But raising a child in a big city isn't always ideal, especially when you're a single mom and you have all sorts of influences out there that you want to try to protect your child from. So coming to a town that was more family friendly was largely because of my son, not necessarily because of, hey, South Bend, what a great town. I want to go be a doctor there. This is a great city. Yes, it is.
It is a great city.
Yes.
As we talk about that, let's talk about some obstacles to your success.
Sure.
You alluded to earlier, it's not all easy.
Right.
So what are some of the obstacles that you faced coming into the profession that you're in?
Like I said, I think being the first and only, it was intimidating to me at times, and I think also to my colleagues, it was intimidating for them. You know, it's like we've never worked with a diverse attorney before, and then it's like, okay, she knows her stuff, she's going to get it done. I know that they see me as a peer, and we can move forward to it. So that for me has always been a struggle. And then being a mom and you know, from a career which is very time consuming and demanding. When I gave birth to both of my girls, I was in the large law firm mode with billable hours. And how do I manage the expectations? How do I and keep encouraging myself that I can do it? And so those were distinct obstacles that I recall. And I think the way that I got through it was knowing that that I was qualified and capable.
Yes.
And just having just a great community of women and examples who had done it and said, I did this, you can do it too.
That is wonderful.
And when you have that, you're like, you're right, I can do it.
It has been done before.
As we get ready to wrap up the show, I just want to end with Dr. Cruthird, tell me some of the keys to your success. Tell our viewers what have been some of the keys to your success.
I think knowing who you are is a big part of it, because a lot of times being the only African American in an environment going through sort of higher education, you notice the higher you go, the fewer people you see that look like you, and knowing that you are good enough to do what you're doing in spite of what other people may think. And you face a lot of people that have never worked with African American people, have only seen you on television, however that's portrayed, and have expectations that you're not as good, that you're not as qualified as your colleagues. So you have to sort of, for me, I've had to put that on the back burner and, you know, not necessarily prove myself, because I don't need to prove myself. I know who I am.
Sure.
And whether someone accepts it or not, I'm still a doctor.
Right.
You might think I'm a nurse. It doesn't matter to me. I'm still a physician and doing the right thing for your patients. And I think in law, doing the right thing for your profession, whatever profession that is, being the best that you can be, and not necessarily having to comment to all the haters or all the people that don't necessarily think you should be where you are. It's not really relevant. You are here.
That's right.
And you're going to continue to be here as long as you do your best.
Yes.
Sure.
And not
Yes.
compromise.
Yes, you're here and you're both making a difference.
That's right.
So, Mike, I think our viewers have been inspired to
Yes.
know if they have dreams and goals
That's
to be
right.
professional, they can do it.
Yeah.
There's things they can do.
They can do it.
They can do
and just be inspired to be the best that you can be. And the tidbits that you all have shared will be helpful to our viewing audience, and certainly has been helpful to Tina and I as well. And we're so grateful that you've taken the time to come out and share your story in becoming young professionals, especially in this community, Michiana.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
a blessing to our
Yes.
community.
Thank you
for
very
having
much.
us.
Thank you.
Had a good time.
Kingdom Life Christian Cathedral is located at 707 Sherman Avenue, South Bend, Indiana 46616. We invite you to visit us if you are ever in our area. For information about speaking engagements, please contact us by calling 574-360-6630. For more information about our ministry, please visit us on the web at www.kingdomlifeccc.org or like us on Facebook.
What a show we've had. I have so enjoyed this show. I'm speaking with young professionals like attorney Cristal Brisco and talking with Dr. Theresa Cruthird. They have been a blessing to us today, and we really appreciate the time that they've spent with us and the information that they've shared with us as well. Thank you so much, Attorney Cristal and Dr. Theresa, for sharing with us and our viewing audience today in regards to being a successful young professional. We hope that you've been inspired as well, and we look forward to you continuing to follow us as we inspire you to be better and to be successful.